In 2008, while audiences flocked to theaters to watch The Dark Knight, studio executives were secretly gathering in boardrooms across Hollywood, developing a strategy that would ultimately lead to the collapse of the very theaters showing their biggest hits. While Christopher Nolan was cementing the theatrical experience as the pinnacle of blockbuster filmmaking, the industry's power brokers were already planning its demise. This wasn't speculation. This was strategy. The slow, calculated death of movie theaters was a deliberate business plan over a decade in the making, one that would transform how we consume entertainment forever. The evidence is hiding in plain sight, in corporate filings, executive statements, and industry transformations that reveal a coordinated effort to dismantle the century-old theatrical model. On November 22, 1995, Toy Story was released in theaters. If you wanted to watch it at home, you had to wait 11 months before it arrived on VHS. This long theatrical window was the norm for decades, but it's always been problematic for studios. For every ticket sold, they had to split revenues with theater chains, typically giving away 40 to 50% of box office receipts. Streaming offered a tantalizing alternative, direct-to-consumer distribution, where they could keep 100% of the revenue. In 2007, Netflix made a decision that would ultimately reshape the entire entertainment landscape. They launched their streaming service. At the time, it seemed like a minor addition to their DVD by mail business. Most industry analysts dismissed it as a novelty. But the major studios recognized something the public didn't. They saw in streaming not just a new distribution method, but a way to finally eliminate that revenue-splitting arrangement they'd resented for decades. What followed was a calculated three-phase strategy that would play out over the next 15 years. Phase 1. Train audiences to prioritize convenience over theatrical experience. Phase 2. Establish direct-to-consumer relationships through streaming services. Phase 3. Gradually shift premium content away from theaters to proprietary platforms. The first phase began with seemingly incremental changes to the theater window. In 1997, a major film might spend 6 months in theaters before another 3-month wait for home video release. By 2019, just before the pandemic, some movies were appearing on digital platforms for purchase just 70 to 80 days after their theatrical premiere. The message to consumers was subtle but clear. You don't need to see this in theaters right away, it'll be on your TV soon enough. Meanwhile, studios systematically shifted mid-budget theatrical films, the romantic comedies, dramas, and thrillers that had once been Hollywood's bread and butter, towards streaming and premium cable. These genres never disappeared, they were strategically redirected to different distribution channels. Industry analyst Matthew Ball, former head of strategy at Amazon Studios, documented how studios increasingly reserved theaters only for their highest budget tentpole movies, while moving mid-tier films to streaming. This approach trained audiences to associate theaters with blockbusters alone, further eroding the habit of regular moviegoing. Think about it. When was the last time you genuinely couldn't wait to see a movie in theaters? When did you last stand in line on opening night? For most people, these moments have become increasingly rare. Not because movies got worse, but because we were systematically trained to wait for streaming. Around 2017 to 2018, the strategy shifted to a new phase. Major studios began developing their own streaming platforms, recognizing both the threat and opportunity that direct-to-consumer models represented. The timeline tells the story. Disney announced Disney Plus in 2017, launching in 2019. Warner Media revealed plans for HBO Max in 2019, launching in 2020. NBC Universal announced Peacock in 2019, debuting in 2020. Viacom CBS transformed CBS All Access into Paramount Plus in 2021. Amazon continued expanding Prime Video's original content. Apple launched Apple TV Plus in 2019. This wasn't coincidental timing. It represented a fundamental shift in how studios viewed their relationship with audiences. Rather than distributing content through theaters and other intermediaries, they were building direct connections to consumers. Disney's acquisition of Fox was driven primarily by the need to acquire enough content to make Disney Plus viable. The $71 billion price tag wasn't about theatrical releases, it was about building a streaming library. When COVID-19 shut down theaters in 2020, studios quickly pivoted to streaming and digital releases. Universal's Trolls World Tour shifted to premium video on demand, reportedly generating nearly $100 million in digital rentals. Warner Bros. Later announced their 2021 slate would release simultaneously on HBO Max and in theaters. Disney launched Premier Access, with Mulan charging $30 on top of Disney Plus subscriptions. Industry reporting from Variety and The Hollywood Reporter suggested these movies weren't entirely improvised responses. Studios have been exploring alternative distribution models for years, and the pandemic proved an opportunity to accelerate these plans. But it wasn't just theater owners caught in the crossfire. The stars and filmmakers themselves were blindsided, leading to unprecedented public conflicts with the studios they once trusted. In July 2021, Scarlett Johansson sued Disney over the simultaneous streaming and theatrical release of Black Widow. Her contract guaranteed an exclusive theatrical release and bonuses based on box office performance. When Disney put the film on Disney Plus Premier Access the same day as theaters, it significantly impacted the theatrical revenue. Johansson's lawsuit alleged Disney had breached her contract to boost Disney Plus subscribers at her expense. The message was clear: actors and directors were now collateral damage in the streaming wars. Disney initially responded with unusual public hostility, a move that drew criticism from talent agencies and industry insiders. The parties eventually settled for an undisclosed amount, with reports suggesting it was in the $40 million range. Christopher Nolan, who had been loyal to Warner Bros. For nearly 2 decades, severed ties after their HBO Max strategy was announced. In an exclusive interview with The Hollywood Reporter, Nolan stated, "Some of our industry's biggest filmmakers and most important movie stars went to bed the night before thinking they were working for the greatest movie studio and woke up to find they were working for the worst streaming service." Denis Villeneuve wrote in Variety about his film Dune debuting on streaming, "There is absolutely no love for cinema, nor the audience here." He expressed concern that the decision could impact the franchise's future. Meanwhile, A-list talent began migrating to streaming platforms. Netflix signed multi-film deals with Adam Sandler and Ryan Reynolds. Apple TV secured partnerships with Martin Scorsese and Leonardo DiCaprio. The traditional theatrical star system was evolving as streaming services offered creative freedom and guaranteed paydays without box office pressure. For theater owners, the existential threat became impossible to ignore. Adam Aron, CEO of AMC Theatres, described the situation as deeply challenging, with the company facing enormous financial pressure as studios shifted their strategies. Then came an unexpected plot twist. In early 2021, AMC found itself at the center of the meme stock phenomenon. Retail investors on Reddit's Wall Street Bets forum identified AMC as a heavily shorted stock and began purchasing shares en masse. The theater chain's stock price surged from under $5 to over $20, allowing AMC to raise over $1 billion in fresh capital by selling additional shares. Adam Aron embraced these new retail investors, communicating directly with them on social media and implementing shareholder perks. The company used this unexpected windfall to strengthen its balance sheet and acquire new properties, including former ArcLight and Pacific Theatre locations. Despite this financial reprieve, AMC and other theater chains still faced fundamental challenges in their relationship with Hollywood studios. But even as theaters reopened, the damage was done. Release windows had permanently contracted to a fraction of their previous length. Universal struck deals allowing films to move to premium video on demand after just 17 days in theaters. Disney, Warner Bros. And Paramount all settled on approximately 45-day windows, half of what had been standard pre-pandemic. The century-old theatrical model had been fundamentally altered. audience expectations had shifted with it, as viewers became accustomed to having options for how and where to watch new releases. In 2022, major streaming services invested heavily in content, with Netflix alone reportedly allocating approximately $17 billion and Disney projecting between $24 to $33 billion across all platforms. According to industry analysts, these streaming investments collectively rivaled or exceeded traditional theatrical production spending. There are still occasional bright spots for theaters. In summer 2023, the simultaneous releases of Barbie and Oppenheimer, dubbed Barbenheimer, became a genuine cultural phenomenon, with audiences treating the theatrical double feature as an event. The films grossed over $2.4 billion combined at the global box office. But these cultural moments are increasingly rare, requiring unprecedented marketing synergy or filmmaker prestige to drive audiences to multiplexes. The power has permanently shifted. What we're witnessing isn't the natural evolution of an industry, it's the successful execution of a plan set in motion 15 years ago. Studios now control both content creation and distribution, finally achieving the direct-to-consumer model they've wanted for decades. So, the next time someone claims COVID-19 killed movie theaters, remember, their decline wasn't inevitable, it was engineered.